Welcome to a special edition of Worst Seats in the House. Michael Russo, my partner in crime, my obnoxious partner in crime, Anthony LaPanta.
I haven't done anything to be obnoxious about.
What is with the, like, how many times do I tell you not to take a picture of the bald spot?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
That's why, because you're so oblivious, Anthony. You took a picture, you put it out for the world to see of the press conference yesterday, and all you see is my bald spot. You don't see Quinn Hughes or Kirill Kaprizov. You just focus in on my
picture from the post-game thing. Well,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
so
just
just so you're aware, there it is. I know it's crazy to think about this, but there are aspects of things that happen that aren't 100% centered on how does this show Michael Russo.
You did it because of me. I know it. Don't try
I was taking a picture of Kirill Kaprizov and Quinn Hughes.
There were many, many different areas of that room you could have taken that picture. Why are you so blurry?
Actually, I think you're blurry. I feel razor sharp. No, I was taking a picture of the post-game press conference. Yeah. I happened to be leaning on the wall in there when Glenn Gulletson had talked earlier. I didn't move. I can assure you it had nothing to do with the angle of the back of Michael Russo's head.
Well, I was at Target the other day, and some guy knew it was me based on when he walked behind me, looked back, and saw it was a bald spot and knew it was me, and I blame you.
I'm trying to get you some more notoriety around town.
All right, Game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs is underway. Wild, yet again, win Game 1. This is something they do. The other thing that happens
and it's something that Dallas does. They lose Game 1.
Exactly. It's a tradition like no other is them losing Game 1. They've lost 9 of their last 11. They were blown out against Colorado. And the other thing that we know, Anthony, from being around the Wild, and a couple of players even pointed out to us yesterday, is like, look, this team's had a lead in the last five series, and obviously didn't win. So one game doesn't make a series, but man, what a great game by the Wild. 6-1 victors last night.
Yeah, they were better in every phase of the game, and kind of everything that you had come into the series wondering all went Minnesota's way. They were better on the special teams. They were physical and yet more disciplined. They got an early lead for a rookie goaltender playing in his first Stanley Cup playoff game, and that certainly helped him settle in. Then he was great when he had to be, made a couple key saves. I thought maybe the most important moment of the whole game was the final 4 minutes or so of the second period. He stopped Jamie Benn after a bad bounce turnover from point-blank range. Then he stopped Wyatt Johnston on a 2-on-1. And if Dallas gets even one of those and makes it 4-2 before the end of the period, it could have been a different third. But he came up big in the spots he had to. Minnesota's superstars were sharp. I just thought everything that you came into the series wondering a little bit, like, will Minnesota superstars be as good as Dallas's? Yes. Will Minnesota special teams be as good as Dallas? Yes. Did they get as good a goaltending? Yes. The game couldn't have gone better for Minnesota.
You and I both talked at our last podcast. I think I said to you, I changed my mind and thought they needed to start with Wallstedt, but I think we both thought that they were going to choose Gus with a very short leash. What I like about this is that they didn't go with the gut decision. They went with the prudent decision. Every analytical measure, Anthony, from traditional stats like goals, saves percent, win save percentages, goals against averages for both goalies they took into account, but also the way that Dallas plays and the way that both goaltenders, like, I think you and I both feel like Wallstedt has the ability to steal games. And right now he's on top of his game, and body of work doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's what are you done for me lately? And as you pointed out on X the other day, Wally earned this start.
He did earn the start. And it was actually, I found it kind of funny when I read some of the banter of people talking about the Wild's decision. And to me, this is exactly the way it's supposed to work. The veteran was given every opportunity to be the guy all season long, and the rookie outplayed him down the stretch, and the rookie earned the start. And I agree with you. I think I've had the feel all year like Gus might have been the more steady guy if you go from start of the season to the end. But that Wallstedt showed some flashes where you just feel like he's got a chance to really come up big in a big spot. And I had mentioned it, I think, last week that I had looked it up, and he had the best save percentage among all goaltenders in the league against playoff teams during the regular season. That would seem to back that up. And I thought the way he played against Anaheim in the final game of the regular season, he just looked like a guy that was absolutely on top of his game and ready for this challenge. And he proved that in game one.
Started with the first save, no rebound. And, he didn't look to me like he had any nerves whatsoever. He disagreed with that account when I asked him after the game. He's like, no, I was nervous, but he thinks nerves are a good thing. And what I just love about his attitude is he wants to be the difference maker. And they found out they had a team dinner here on Thursday night, and both Freddie Chabot and John Hines met with both goaltenders and told them the decision. And what is just absolutely amazing, Anthony, the next day in the afternoon, guess how Jesper Wallstedt's father found out that he was starting? Through social media. So his son knew for about 15, 16 hours and didn't even tell his
but was
family.
Probably told not to share with anybody. So good for him.
Yep. And, and then his demeanor after the game just was terrific. And you just felt like, I love that quote last night from Quinn Hughes where he's like, I didn't think about him for a second back there,
Right.
like the confidence of like, I'm not worried about a goalie back there.
Right. Well, and I think that's what, as we've talked a number of times, I think that's what the Wild have created all season. Is it's just been matter of fact. We trust both guys, and there have been a couple times where, guys like us in the media would look at a schedule and say, okay, well, I got to believe they're going to go Gus, Wally, Gus this week or something, and then all of a sudden, John Hines would come and say, Wally's playing tonight, and it was just. It didn't seem to really matter, and it didn't matter to the team at all. They had full confidence in both goaltenders. Both had been really good at different points during the year. So I think we probably made more out of the decision than anybody inside the room did. I really didn't get the sense from the players that, I don't want to say they didn't care, because for sure they cared, but I don't think it mattered to them. I don't think they had any angst about, well, boy, if we throw that guy in there, how's he going to handle it? I think they just were, yep, he's playing tonight. And if John Hines walked into the rink this morning and said, Gus is starting tomorrow night, I don't think anybody would, I don't think he's going to, let's be clear about that. I'm just saying, like, if he happened to walk in and say, yep, Gus is going tomorrow, I don't think anybody would think anything of it. Anybody inside the room anyway. They just say, hey, look, they're both our guys. I mean, let's say Wallstedt plays game 2 and the Wild get beat 4-3 or something, or 3-2 or whatever. If they went home and said, hey, Gus is going to play game 3, I just don't think anybody on this team has any less confidence in either goaltender, is my point. And I think the Wild have created that over the course of the year by just at different times saying, this is our guy tonight. And I believe there's a lot of faith in both of them.
Yeah. The only thing I will disagree with you is I think the last loss in Dallas a week ago did change a little bit of the mindset where, I think there was a little concern by a lot of people. And look, players are human beings, but the coaching staff, when you outplay the Stars to that degree and you lose and give up 5 and you scored 3 power play goals in a game where you've also scored 4 goals, I just think that this was the prudent decision.
I think it was the right call. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I think it. I'm just saying I don't think that there have been a number of points during the season where the starting goaltender decision surprised some of us. And I just don't think anybody inside that room would be surprised or concerned in any way if at any point during this series they said, hey, tomorrow night it's going to be Gus. And then if the next game they went back to Wally, I think they've created an environment where the guys just look at this as those are our goalies. And I think Quinn's comment was right along that line. Like if they had said Gus was starting game 1, I don't think anybody inside that room would have gone into that game with less confidence.
Yeah. Let's talk about Faber and Quinn Hughes. First of all, Anthony, I thought that was Brock's best playoff game that we've ever seen him play. Obviously we saw him in the Dallas series, we saw him in the Vegas series, and I just thought he was sensational yesterday. And I'm just amazed that a guy, Quinn Hughes is just a freak of nature. I know we've seen Jonas Brodin doing this 1,000 times where he'll be out a month and just come back after one practice, not even sometimes after practice. But Quinn to be sick, to not be with the team at all, really, the last week, not get on the ice as far as we know, not skate with his team since the Nashville loss, and come out and play as well as he did. They did limit his ice time, thanks to the score. They didn't give him a ton of ice time there late. He played 24 and a half minutes, which is not Quinn Hughes ice time. So he is going to be refreshed for game 2. But man, were those two good.
I thought they were really good. Now, I didn't think Quinn looked like himself throughout the game.
Right.
I think your point is valid that we've seen it from Jonas Brodin where he just pops on the ice and it looks like he's never missed a beat. I didn't think Hughes looked like that, but he was really good in the game and he made some plays that were the typical Quinn Hughes plays. I thought
How about
Faber
the play on the Hartman goal, Anthony?
Yeah, it was, and on the power play, there were a couple little subtle plays he made where it was just things he makes look so easy that you take for granted. But I didn't think he looked as smooth as we've seen him look. I expect we'll see better from him in game 2. I thought Faber was terrific. I thought he was physical. He was impenetrable, and he was involved in the offense as well. I think it was. That's one of the things I was really anxious to see in this series. Could that defensive pair be a little bit more responsible and defensive minded than we had seen him down the stretch? The Brodin and Spurgeon, number 1 in the NHL in goals against per 60 when they're on the ice. Faber and Hughes are near the bottom. I can't remember the exact number, but I think I had looked up 75 D pair that had played 300 minutes, and they were like number 66 or 68 or something. But they were number 5 in goals for. And I just didn't think you could play at that high event kind of hockey, like trading chance kind of hockey in the playoffs. And they didn't last night. I thought they were terrific throughout the game. Now, all of this said about how great Minnesota was, they had some things working in their favor. To their credit, they took advantage of them. They were fresh. They were sharp. They were energized. Wild hadn't played since Tuesday. Dallas had to play on the road on Wednesday and travel home. So Minnesota was able to and Minnesota made the decision to give their guys a couple days off. So they've got 6 or 7 guys who haven't played in a game in a week, 2 practices. Dallas had to take a day off and 1 practice. It's going to be a different Dallas club in game 2. The challenge is going to be different. But I sure liked what we saw from Minnesota's guys in game 1. And, now they're going to, I just think you're going to see a different speed, pace, energy, and intensity from Dallas in the second game. And it's going to challenge like the Faber-Hughes pairing. They're going to have to be as good defensively as they were last night against a much more challenging opponent in game 2.
You've heard me talk about the Onyx Hunt app on here for years. Well, make sure you download the Onyx Fish app as well, because before you even pull the boat out of the garage, you can sort lakes by species, trophy potential, and keeper potential, so you're not just guessing and you're going out with a plan. You could also use the Onyx Fish app to filter walleye, bass, panfish, whatever you're chasing, and see species abundance and size data so you actually know what's in the lake before you launch. Everything you need to get there and get on fish is all in one app. Boat ramps, lake access points, public versus private land, points of interest like bait shops and camping. It's all built into the app. No more scrambling around 3 different apps or outdated reports. Onyx Fish gives you the proven fishing area data and local insights that used to take years to learn. So you could do a decade of knowledge all in about 10 minutes. So download Onyx Fish on the App Store or visit onyxmaps.com/fish. Spring fishing is here. Go find a lake you've been driving past for years and finally find out if it's worth the launch. You've heard me for years talk about my Connecticut water treatment system in my house. Well, many homeowners don't realize how much hard or poor quality water affects your daily life. Issues include cloudy water, bad taste, buildup on fixtures, dry skin, appliance wear, everything. Well, I have your solution, and it's Aquarius Home Services. They are your authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Connecticut systems provide worry-free water throughout your entire home. Systems right now start at $9.95 per month for the first 3 months. It's $9.95 per month for the first 3 months. Their technicians will come to your home and provide a free in-home water quality testing analysis. Aquarius handles everything from your testing to your installation. One call and your problem is solved. You can enjoy spotless dishes, softer clothes, smoother, softer skin and hair, worry-free drinking water right from your faucet. That means no more plastic water bottles, no more water cans, everything. You'll be surprised also how little salt it uses. Visit right now or book your services at AquariusHomeservices.com. That's AquariusHomeservices.com, earning the right to be recommended. That's Aquarius Home Services. And don't forget to tell them that Russo sent you.
Are you looking to move a little easier and feel better day to day? StretchLab can help. StretchLab is the leader in one-on-one assisted stretching with locations across the Twin Cities. Every session is customized, whether you're chasing a loose puck, grinding through men's league, or just trying to keep up with the game. It's not just recovery, it's mobility, prevention, and performance. Tight hips, sore back, it's all about staying in the game, whatever your game looks like. Don't sit this shift out. Book your first stretch today and feel the difference.
A great haircut is always a mood booster, but it's even better when it's convenient too. That's why you'll love online check-in at Great Clips. You just check in from your phone and get a ready next text when you're up next. Plus, with the convenient hours at Great Clips salons, you can get a haircut even when you're really busy. So if your hair and your mood could use a boost, download the app today, Great Clips. It's going to be great. I thought one of the keys to the game, Anthony, the first two periods was just the way that the Wild defense kept those big Dallas forwards from getting to around the net. And that's where they score their goals, Dallas. They're really good at the net front, really good at getting to the interior. They certainly were in the last meeting against Minnesota. And I thought that, I think you and I have discussed, and a lot of people have discussed, that maybe the Wild size on their back end could be a weakness in a series against forwards like Mikko Rantanen and Jason Robertson. But last night, I mean, for the first, I remember looking at Natural Stat Trick with about 8 minutes left in the second period, I believe, and they had one high danger scoring chance, the Dallas Stars.
At 5-on-5.
At 5-on-5, right. So man, that's another area where the Wild's blue line and the way that their F3 played, they just did a really great job.
Yeah, and I thought the Wild were able to, I wouldn't say with great regularity, but they were able to get inside of Dallas's defense a few times during the game. And that's, I think, one of the bigger challenges in this series. Dallas has got a lot of size on their blue line, and they do a great job of just keeping people to the outside throughout the course of the year. That's why they were, these are two of the top 4 defensive clubs in the NHL in terms of goals against over the course of the year. And I thought Minnesota was able to generate a little more there. And I just think that one of the reasons why this series had a different feel for me than some of the previous, and I know you mentioned the Wild they've been ahead in the last 5 series. Dallas has lost the last 5 game ones. All of those things are valid. Where this one I think has a little different feel is Minnesota's got the firepower, and particularly on the power play, to be different, where they don't have to be great for 60 minutes. They don't have to be dominant for 60 minutes to create chances. If they get 3 chances on the power play, odds are pretty good they're going to score 1 and maybe even 2. And you look at these last couple games, I mean, 5 for 9 against Dallas on the power play in the last 2 head-to-head meetings. If I'm Dallas right now, I got to be, that's where my energy today would be being spent, is what in the world are we going to do? Because I thought there are 2 different points here, but a couple different times in the game, I thought Dallas looked like they were about to get the game going the way they wanted. One of them was on the penalty kill. Minnesota's first power play, the first minute, Dallas disrupted every entry. It was 3 entries that Minnesota couldn't even get into the zone. And I thought, well, this is why they've been really good on the kill. And then all of a sudden, the Wild, they enter the zone cleanly one time, bang, 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 4 passes, the puck's in the net. And they just have skill level on that power play that we haven't seen from the Wild before. And they're able to dismantle even a good penalty kill. And it doesn't have to be 2 minutes of an onslaught. It can be just one zone entry where, I thought Kirill's point on the power play is, I'm going to try and quote him accurately, but it was like, when they want to be aggressive on the kill, we know we just have to move the puck quickly, and they did. And
how many years, Anthony, did we talk about the Wild being too passive on the power play and holding pucks, and they just move the puck and they snap it around, and they have different looks. I mean, even just the 2 goals by Eriksson Ek, it's 2 different passers from behind the net. They just confuse you the heck out of you. And a lot of that, I mean, like this, I really hope that Matt Zuccarello comes back. He is, at his age, still so important to everything they do. And yesterday, look, there are times on second of back-to-backs he's going to get tired, but the Wild played this perfectly. Matt Zuccarello and Eriksson Ek were the only two guys that didn't play the final 3 games of the regular season, and Matt's looked absolutely fresh and ready to go last night.
He did. So I want to go back to the point I had made earlier about that the Wild had an edge here in terms of rest, but a part of that was created by their decision. And I think all year, John Hines has, and it's not just him, he's got a staff that really is tuned into all this stuff. I think once that game was lost in Dallas last Thursday, they looked at it and made what probably wasn't an easy decision, because I know some of the guys said they wanted to play, and he played some of them in Nashville, but then gave them all the St. Louis and Anaheim games off. Not all, but the 10 guys. And I think there were a lot of reasons for that. Was he had trusted that these guys could come back from a break and not lose their edge, not lose their sharpness, not lose the structure to their game. He referenced it a couple times to that stretch where they had 4 days off just a few weeks back. And he said, the way we came out of that with giving them 2 days off, then practicing 2 days, and then put the pedal to the metal and won 4 in a row and played really well in Dallas, that in the back of his mind, he said, I know I can trust these guys to give them this time off, and they're not going to lose that. But it wasn't an easy call because some of those guys wanted to play. And I think also the other thing that he was looking at is, but what kind of game is it going to be? Are they going to come into these games against St. Louis and Anaheim and it isn't going to be the same intensity because there isn't anything on the line? We're playing a non-playoff team in St. Louis. Is it just going to become, it's point night, we're going to be throwing pucks across the ice? So I think in the back of his mind, he was thinking, not only am I resting guys, but I'm not going to let their game get loose by playing them in spots where they're not going to play with playoff intensity. And Dallas didn't do that. They played their guys, and they had to play an extra night. It was on the road. I think there were a lot of things here that Minnesota made the right call with giving those guys. These guys hadn't been on the ice in a game for 7 days, but yet they came out energized last night. And Kaprizov was good. Boldy was good. Zuccarello was good. Eriksson Ek was good. Now we'll see. And I'm not questioning Gulletsen's decisions. He knows his team better than we do, but he chose to play his guys and play them even the extra night on the Wednesday night in Buffalo with travel home. So I think the Wild did it right. They were rewarded. They took advantage of a Dallas team that might have been a little bit low on energy. So that's where I think it's going to feel different on Monday night. Because now you got a Dallas club that it was a day game yesterday. Dallas is going to practice today. A late night start tomorrow night in game 2. It'll be a different feel.
No doubt about it. And they're going to be much angrier. It's going to be a more physical game. He'll probably throw guys like Bunting in, who's they're lesser talented Ryan Hartman type. He's a bit of a shift disturber, so to speak. So it'll be that way. Let's quickly, before we wrap up the show, and by the way, we will be doing these throughout the playoffs after games. Some days like the 8:30 game on Monday, I have a 6 a.m. flight home. Anthony's spending the night here with the team and flying home. So those will have to be night shows. But we're going to do this a lot.
You'll Anthony, be after each game somehow, some way, whenever you can get a ball cap on to cover up your head.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. I might bring him I'm going to start wearing them during the games now, just to offset you. So just real quick, you just mentioned the stars, and I don't want to gloss over them because we barely talked about Kaprizov, Boldy, Ek, Hartman, these guys during this show. Anthony, but like Boldy, I talked to him a long time the other day after practice on Friday here, I believe it was, and about just what is the difference between Matt Boldy now and Matt Boldy in the 2023 series. And he looks over at Ek and he goes, he forces me to go to the trenches. He demands it out of me. And I loved that quote. And so it wasn't just like we a lot of us in the media, we heard Bill Guerin go after Matt Boldy after that series for being too perimeter and having 1 goal in his first 2 playoff series. And we're just thinking, all right, he was scared to death out of he got the wake-up call from Bill Guerin. But I just love that Eriksson Ek is the one that also is kind of demanding it from him. And it's to your point on why he loves playing with Ek and why Ek loves playing with him. And it just shows you that Matt Boldy, the sky is the limit, man.
Well, he's a superstar.
Yeah.
He just is. There's no doubt. And in fact, I had a couple of guys ask me this week just about like where he is in the NHL. It was a strange question because I hadn't really thought about it. And, we refer to the three superstars for the Wild and then kind of the supplemental stars, where I'd say guys like Eriksson Ek and Faber they're stars in this league. I just, wherever you decide to draw your line at superstar, but I started to think about it and I was like, I don't know if you had to start ranking players. I mean, he's for sure in the top 20 in the NHL right now. And which is saying something because you think about it, the Wild might have
I guarantee
of the best 20
you
players
he's going to be on
league.
A lot of right-wing All-Star ballots this year.
Yeah, I agree. But the Eriksson Ek comment is one that we've made several times throughout the course of the year. And we had asked Hines early when he was putting his lines together. And remember at the start of the year, Marcus Johansson wasn't with those two guys and they quickly landed there. And he's talked about how both of those guys bring the best out of Matt Boldy. Eriksson Ek keeps him on a straight line to the net, and Johansson drives the pace. So he makes them play faster, and Eriksson Ek makes him play straighter. And which is crazy to think about it, that you're talking about the other two guys on the line when Boldy's the best player on the line. And yet it's like the other two guys seem to complement him and bring out the absolute best in the way he plays. And it's why I've felt all year, like no matter how much you mess around with and tinker with the lines down the stretch, you knew those three guys were going to end up together. They've been Minnesota's best line all year. And then there's going to be those spots where, okay, the game's in the balance right now. Boldy and Kaprizov are on the wings together. And then you just see something. It's amazing how fast they create chances when they're together. So I think right now the Wild have got a lineup that's clicking. There are some things you have to keep an eye on. The Hartman, Kaprizov, Zuccarello line, there are going to be some spots, and I would bet we'll see them in game 2 where Dallas is able to take advantage of them in their own zone, catch them tired, something like that, and they're going to have to be able to defend some of the elite for the Stars. And, but right now, especially without Rope Hintz in this lineup, and it sounds like he's for sure going to be out at least game 2, and the way they're talking,
yeah,
it sure sounds like it could be even longer than what they're saying. And this is a different matchup if he's not in the games. If he's not in there, Dallas's depth is no longer a huge advantage. The big two lines for both teams would now seem to favor Minnesota. We'll see how that plays out. But, boy, it's a different club without Hintz on the ice.
Absolutely. Just like Eriksson Ek was a different club for Minnesota when he wasn't here in 2023. Lastly, how about the shot by Kaprizov, Anthony? That was just beyond belief.
Yeah, and I loved his explanation of it last night after the game when he just said, I wound up with more time than I expected. And, I know there's some people right now that are questioning Jake Ottinger and saying, geez, he gave up 5 when they just played this team last week. They gave up 4. There's something that, there's not a goaltender in the league that stops that puck. That you put it on Kirill Kaprizov's stick with that much time to think about it. And it was one of the, I thought Kaprizov's explanation was great, where he just said, well, a couple guys made great plays and all of a sudden I had all kinds of time, more than I ever thought I'd have. And those are the kind of shots that it's just different when you have the puck on a superstar's stick with a chance to change the game. And that goal might have really kind of sealed it at that moment. Cause Dallas didn't feel like they could have played all night and they weren't going to get to 4.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And then to score right after that, what a great play by Faber to Hartman. Playoff Hartman has absolutely shown up in this series, and then that Boldy goal was the dagger. We'll be doing this a lot, Anthony. Thanks to our incredible sponsors and for joining us in the Aquarius Home Services studio. Aquarius Home Services, your local authorized driller for Connecticut water treatment systems, Onyx Hunt, and our 2 newest sponsors, Great Clips and Stretch Labs. Talk to you next week, Anthony, or actually next game, Monday.
After game 2.
Tuesday. One of the 2.
So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world